Okay, guys, in this section right here, what we're going to be doing is taking a look at if statements. Basically, what we need to do is we need to allow the script to kind of make decisions. You know, an example, let's say we're getting some records back from MySQL. We need to see, like, are there some records there so that we're going to do some processing? Do we have less than 5 records? Do we have more than 100 records? We need to find a way to allow our code to actually ask questions and make decisions based off the answer. So with that, what we're going to do this time around is I'm going to have Logan introduce to you guys the wonderful if statement. Logan, take it away.
Okay, well, let me go ahead and open up a new script. Tab over, and this, obviously syntax is if. Then we open opening and closing parenthesis for what we want to test. And let me just go ahead and block this all in. Then we start a curly brace and close one. Now let me close the script off. That's the basic syntax. And inside these parentheses is what we want to test for. Let me go ahead and create a variable to test, so $var. Let's make that equal 5. So we want to test var and see if, see if it equals something. So inside these opening and closing parentheses, we'll say if $var equals
Ooh, 2
5.
equals.
That's because we're testing for equality. A normal equals will actually assign 5 to var. So if we did just equals here, it would be assigning var and not just testing for it.
Absolutely. 1 equal symbols is an assignment operator.
Right, so we're testing an if statement returns a true or false, kind of like a yes or no. And if it returns true, it runs any code you put inside these curly braces.
All right, so can you prove that to us?
So, okay,
let's echo something out, perhaps.
Let's echo.
var is true.
So let's just say if, or just say returned.
Retweeted?
All right, fine. var was true.
Trying to get all fancy on us, eh?
Alright, var was true. So let me go ahead and save that out as just do if test.php. Save it out, load up localhost, and if alright, I'm getting there. var was true.
So right now, if you made it false
by, let's say, testing to see if it was equal to 4.
Right, which means we definitely get false back. So what would be shown out?
Nothing, because there's nothing else is shown to the browser. No HTML or no other echoes.
Okay.
And, of course, nothing.
So I guess, just kind of looking at this from a complete beginner's point of view,
okay.
What's going to happen? Let's say we've got some code going on. We've been doing some stuff. Everything's been running fine. Then suddenly we need to do a little test, and we use this if statement here, and we see that inside the open and closing curly brace, we're going to do something if the condition's true. But what do we need to do if we want code to continue after it's done?
Just keep writing code outside of the last curly brace.
Okay, so no matter what, true or false, that code will continue executing.
Yeah, this is basically its own. It's just its own little line, or own little, couple of lines. But after it's done, and after you hit this last curly brace, it's back to just normal code. So we can echo out end of script.
And so what you're saying is the end of script will always be displayed now.
Right, because there's nothing. It's going to hit PHP. PHP is going to do an echo, and this is going to be whether this did anything or didn't. We're now outside of that last curly brace and back to normal code.
Sounds pretty cool to me. Let's check it out.
End of script.
End of script. And if you go back in there and make the test true?
True. Now, one thing is, since the browser is interpreting this as HTML, it's not going to see any new line here. We need to actually have an HTML BR there just to make it easier to see and put this on a new line.
Yeah, otherwise it would have all just been jumbled up there.
var was true, and now end of script.
Isn't he just so fancy?
So yeah, whether this echo line gets hit or not, it's still always going to. This is always going to be run.
Okay, now looking at this, if I was completely new to programming, well, first of all, I would be slowly absorbing this, going, "Whoa, this is kind of cool." But the next thing that comes to mind is, all right, well, you've shown me how I can do something if this test condition that's inside those two parentheses up above evaluates to true. But what if it evaluates to false, and I need something to happen only if the condition is false?
Okay, so only if this wasn't 5 then, or
yeah, that's that the condition evaluates to false, and I need something specific to happen then if it's false.
So you want something to happen whether it's true or false.
Exactly. Because right now we're only doing something
So right now it's saying
if
it's true, and then it's a blank or missing the line if it's false. So we want to go ahead and make it actually show the user that it's false.
Right.
So we can use else to do that.
Ooh.
Right after the last closing brace, else, and then open a new curly brace, tab over, and do something else. Echo, var.
Oh, yeah, don't want to get fancy this time, eh?
Nah, I'll stick to easy typing. So, and then, of course, closing that last curly brace. So, let's see.
Now we've got ourselves set up so we can do something special if it's true or if it's false before we continue with executing the rest of the code.
That's right. So now I can set this to 4.
And we know 5 is definitely not equal to 4.
So, refresh.
Var is false.
Flace.
Well, flace.
But anyway, yes, that's this line. There's one of these, one or the other, is going to get shown no matter what.
Okay. I knew that'd be bugging you. So let me ask you this. You've got these blocking symbols, the curly braces over with the if and with the else. Are there going to be times when people will not see those?
Yes, if you only need one line of code to execute after an if statement, you can simply put it directly under the if or directly after and not completely omit the curly braces.
But that means you got to be really careful because if you're coding and you accidentally put, let's just say, 2 lines of code down that you expect to be executed if the condition evaluates to true, but you did not use the open and closing curly brace, then what's going to happen is the first line will get executed if it's true, but the second line is considered to be executed no matter what.
Yeah, it'll get executed just the same as this echo line that's totally outside of the curly braces.
But now let me ask you this. What kind of trouble will they be cruising towards if they have an else statement on after that?
Then PHP is going to get a little bit mad. It's going to hit an else and
it's going to slap you
just out in the middle of nowhere. It won't accept an else just without an if.
Yep, exactly. So we've got a bit of a problem then, and you will be fixing your code. So, okay, I just wanted to make them aware that you could get away without using the open and closing curly brace. So what is the purpose of the open and closing curly brace? Well, it's quite simple. If you have multiple lines of code or a block of code that you need to execute if it's true, well, you have to use those. That's what we're doing. We're blocking code belonging to the true portion of the if statement. And then the else is, well, the false. So with that, let's go ahead, Logan, and talk a little bit about some of the operators that we can use. Right now, you've just shown
So we've
equality.
been just seeing if it's equal to something.
Yeah.
What if we wanted to give it a range, like say anything greater than 5?
Okay.
So you can simply use a greater than symbol. Just make this. I'll leave that 4. So anything we're checking for, just to make sure it's anything greater than 4.
Okay.
So if I save this and ran it, of course, 5 is greater than 4, and it evaluates to true. Now, if I set this to 5 and test it, 5
is not
greater than 5. So if you're testing a range